It did something new, but we live. Okay. Happy Thursday, everybody. All right, y'all. So it is Thursday, August the 19th, 2021, day 237 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 906. Today, y'all, we're reading Ezekiel 38, 39, and 40. And then we're going to pick up where we left off at Fossilized Customs on page 339. I think it was 339. Actually, I guessed. I didn't write it down yesterday, so when I was writing my notes, I guessed because I had already put my stuff up. Okay. Yeah, I guess. No, did we read this? Oh, we did. Oh, we did. I was right. Yeah, it's the cross page. Okay, so I was right. I just didn't move my thing. Okay, 339. Tiffany. Oh, happy day. Okay, y'all. So let's get started here with the shimmer and get this morning going. I can't do too many side stories today. The last one's on. I got to start working early today. All right. Let's do this. Got to get some stuff done. All right, y'all. Shimmer. All right, y'all. Remember, the Shema is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6, starting at verse 3. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the mighty one of our fathers, has promised us in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our mighty one, he is one. And you shall love Yahuwah, your mighty one, with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah, our mighty one, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah, our mighty one, as he has commanded us. Peaceful greetings, Uncle Nathaniel, Valerie, yeah. Shalom, sis. Okay, y'all. Ezekiel chapter 38. A message for Gog. Move this over here. All right. Y'all still getting it to everybody. Hold on. This one little spot on my glasses is plucking my nerves. Hold on, y'all. Okay. All right, y'all. A message for Gog. This is another message that came to me from Yahuwah. Son of man, turn and face Gog, the land of Magog, the prince who rules over the nations of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him. Give him this message from me. Gog, I am your enemy. I will turn you around and put hooks in your jaws to lead you out with your whole army, your horses and charioteers in full armor, and a great horde armed with shields and swords. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya will join you too with all their weapons. Gomer and all its armies will also join you, along with the armies of Beth Togarmah from the distant north and many others. Get ready, be prepared. Keep all the armies around you mobilized and take command of them. A long time from now, you will be called into action. In the distant future, you will swoop down on the land of Israel, which will be enjoying peace after recovering from war and after its people have returned from many lands to the mountains of Israel. You and all your allies, a vast and awesome army, will roll down on them like a storm and cover the land like a cloud. Let me bring up something real quick, just in case you didn't realize it. Shayla, hey girl, hey, look. So, if you kind of been keeping up with what's been going on in the created state of Israel, the place that they call Israel, it's a created state by the Balfour Declaration, right? America and the Vatican, England, they created that, right? So, and they actually took people and put them over there, a whole nother nation of people, right? That's Gog, that's over there in that land, right? Listen, so if you've been keeping up with what they're going and how they've taken on the identity of the true people who is still scattered, we're still scattered to the four corners of the earth, mind you, right? So why they taking up residence in that place over there that they've labeled, right? It, first of all, it's extremely too small for all of Israel, right? So that is not even the entire land. It's like a little sliver, and it looks like a little sliver if you go look at it. It's nowhere even near how huge the land is, right? There are land maps where you can read in the Bible that tells you how vast the land of Israel is. And then as she begins to return home, it's not just going to be that land. Like, we are going to take charge of all of Edom's land, right? So when you look at it now, don't just be looking for Israel, but look at all the lands of Edom, right? Because we will also inherit them. Yahuwah said it like a cajillion, zillion, billion times all throughout, right? So all throughout the Old Testament, you will find that, right? Israel will take over the lands of Edom. Okay, so if you understand this and you're paying attention to what's going on over there, and you also know that they're not the real people and that the real people are still scattered to the four corners of the earth, you will not get scared with them false prophecies that come out of that place, right? All the fighting that they be having. We mentioned this quite a few times. All the fighting that they got going on over there, and everybody's always fighting against Israel. Everything is completely backwards of what Yahuwah has said, right? Completely backwards. Shalom, Mark. So if you're paying attention, and they always talking about Armageddon and the Gog and Magog, like what we've just read right here, and these starting at verse 7, this is actually talking about the Gog and Magog war, right? But if you pay attention to what's going on over there, it's completely the opposite, even to them living in peace and safety, right? It says that when the children return, that there's going to be so many of us that we are going to overrun the land, right? There will be no walls. Yahuwah will be the wall that surrounds his people. Yet the people that are there, they're surrounded by walls on every side, right? They're at war at the surrounding nations. When Yahuwah said, when his people return, that everybody will be at peace, right? Nobody will come up against us. But when they do, they actually will. And that is the war of Armageddon. And that is when Yahuwah himself will step on the scene to annihilate all the nations that come up against Israel to try to take her again. They're going to try it. Scripture said once we get back, they're going to try it after a long period of time. We'll probably be dead and gone. We probably won't even see that day, right? We'll be dead and gone before that happens, right? But many more generations are going to come before any of this even happens, right? According to what we're reading here. So don't get scared when you see some of this stuff happening over there, because they're literally putting on a show. They're literally putting on a whole production for you to keep the entire world fooled still. But those of us who know who we are and know that, what they talking about? We still scattered. What they doing? Like, you can literally sit and watch it with popcorn. That's why they're prophecies. Yo, I'm telling you, if you understand that, The prophecies that come out, even the lying prophets, anybody got anything to do with them, you can pretty much, and you ain't got to have the spirit of Yah coming down in your spirit to tell you nothing. If first of all, if you understand who the people are, you can almost identify what their prophecies are going to be. It's going to be the exact opposite. You can see through their false prophecies, and you can literally almost pinpoint some of the next things that they are going to say in order to still keep the world food, right? And people just, even some of our people just falling right into the trap. Oh my gosh, this is it. It's the end of the world. No, it's not. It's going to be many more generations. What's happening now is an adjustment of all the nations and everything that's going on. So Israel can rightfully take her place again. People, you who is we, not everybody. Ain't nothing to be scared about. Like, you know who you are. And those who have sided with Yah and his people, we ain't got nothing to worry about, y'all. Go ahead, live life, be smart, right? Build, think about these things, prepare your family, teach them about what's really going on. We definitely shouldn't be the ones running around here like chickens with our head cut off and worried about the jab that they trying to give everybody, right? If they make, here's what I say about that. If you are in a position or you have a job where it's possible somewhere down the line they may make it mandatory or you're going to lose your position, you should probably get into action and start developing your gifts that you were born with, right? So you don't have to rely on somebody else's job or somebody else's system, because you might not look up and get an employer like some of us who will not require it of our employees. Absolutely not. Not on our watch. Not on our watch. We're not mandating that ever, right? But you may not look up and get a good employer where you can keep your good job and stuff. So if not, start developing the gifts and talents that you were born with, right? So you can control all those things. Learn how to be self-sufficient. Trust Yah, right? Now is the time. If you haven't started, right? You got some years to begin to develop those gifts and talents so you can make sure that you have set your way right before you, right? According to Yahuwah's instructions and his wisdom that he will pour out on you without measure, right? So I'm just saying, I did want to say that, right? So, but what this is talking about is something, it says in the distant future, right? And even when this was given, it was the distant future. And even in this day, it's still the distant future because we're still scattered. We haven't returned. So he's talking to Gog. In the land of Magog, get ready, be prepared, keep all the armies around you mobilized, and take command of them. A long time from now, you will be called into action. In the distant future, you will swoop down on the land of Israel, which will be enjoying peace after recovering from war and after its people have returned from many lands to the mountains of Israel. You and all your allies, a vast and awesome army, will roll down on them like a storm and cover the land like a cloud. This is what the sovereign Lord says. At that time, evil thoughts will come to your mind, and you will devise a wicked scheme. You will say, Israel is an unprotected land filled with unwalled villages. We know that's not them. They built walls on every side, got every kind of weapon, and they got to fight everybody off because everybody trying to get them out the land. They say, y'all don't belong here. That's the real reason why Israel is always at war and why they're always at odds with the surrounding nations. It's not because people coming against God's people. No, you are the enemy. You are the enemy, and the surrounding nations know that you are not the real people. While y'all got the money and the big foghorns and the productions where you can pretty much control the narrative of what the world sees because you're in cahoots with the great whore, America. That's why they always at war, right? That's not a secret anymore. They're at war with the surrounding nations because they don't belong there. And all the surrounding nations know that they don't belong there, but they're trying to hold their place steady as long as they possibly can, right? Okay, look. At that time, evil thoughts will come to your mind and you will devise a wicked scheme. You will say, Israel is an unprotected land filled with unwalled villages. I will march against her and destroy these people who live in such confidence. I will go to those formerly desolate cities that are now filled with people who have returned from exile in many nations. I will capture vast amounts of plunder, for the people are rich with livestock and other possessions now. They think the whole world revolves around them, and it will. But Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish were asked, "Do you really think the armies have gathered can rob them of silver and gold?" Look, bruh, first of all, yes, y'all will be the surrounding bulletproof vest around us, his people. But do you think we have not learned anything? All these years in captivity, right? All these years where we've held these positions and we know Babylon, all the agents of Babylon, we have thoroughly infiltrated the ranks everywhere. Israel, the true descendants of Israel, is in positions all over the world. We're scattered to the four corners of the earth, and at all the four corners of the earth, we are in positions from the very lowest to the very highest, right? We know how Babylon works. We know how Babylon operates. Some of us even have secret codes and passwords to things and have information that when we go, we taking it with us. All the information you can, even if you don't let us take a dime with us, although we know we taking everything, all of the information, all the intel that we have gathered, do you think that we're not going to take that and use it for our own nation? Right? You will say, Israel is an unprotected land filled with unwalled villages. I will march against her and destroy these people who live in such confidence. I will go to those formerly desolate cities that are now filled with people who have returned from exile in many nations. I will capture vast amounts of plunder, for the people are rich with livestock and other possessions now. They think the whole world revolves around them. But Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish will ask, "Do you really think the armies you have gathered can rob them of gold and silver? Do you think you can drive away their livestock and seize their goods and carry off plunder?" Right? Other surrounding nations, when these thoughts come to their mind, they're gonna try and take us again. Even the surrounding nations, they say, y'all tripping. Y'all think y'all can take them now? Okay. Hey, everybody get popcorn ready. Nikki, good day. Mom, shalom. Therefore, Son of Man, prophesy against Gog. Give him this message from the sovereign Lord. When my people are living in peace in their land, then you will rouse yourself. You will come from your homeland in the distant north with your vast cavalry and your mighty army, and you will attack my people, covering their land like a cloud. At that time, in the distant future, I will bring you against my land as everyone watches, right? And this is going to be the war of Armageddon that they talk about. The whole world is going to watch to see all these nations try and rise and take Israel, real Israel again. The whole world is going to be watching, right? Like I said, we'll probably be dead and gone by this time, right? It's probably a few generations down the line of our children that's going to see this, right? He says, at that time, mind you, Yahuwah is allowing this to happen. And here's why. He said, at that time in the distant future, I will bring you against my land as everyone watches, and my holiness will be displayed by what happens to you, Gog. Then all the nations will know that I am Yahuwah. This is what the sovereign Lord asks. Are you the one I was talking about long ago when I announced through Israel's prophets that in the future I would bring you against my people? But this is what the sovereign Lord says. When Gog invades the land of Israel, my fury will boil over. And my jealousy and blazing anger, I promise a mighty shaking in the land of Israel on that day. All living things, the fish in the sea, the birds of the sky, the animals of the field, the small animals that scurry along the ground, and all the people on the earth will quake in terror at my presence. Mountains will be thrown down, cliffs will crumble, walls will fall to the earth. I will summon the sword against you on all the hills of Israel, says Yahuwah. Your men will turn their swords against each other. I will punish you and your armies with disease and bloodshed. I will send torrential rain, hailstone, fire, and burning sulfur. In this way, I will show my greatness and holiness, and I will make myself known to all the nations of the world. Then they will know that I am Yahuwah. Ezekiel chapter 39. The slaughter of Gog's hordes. Listen to this. And when this happens, just listen. Y'all probably familiar with it, but this is probably one of my favorite chapters too. I mean, like, it's a lot of them. It's my favorite chapters. The slaughter of Gog's hordes. Son of man, prophesy against Gog. Give him this message from me. I am your enemy, O Gog, ruler of the nations of Meshach and Tubal. I will turn you around and drive you toward the mountains of Israel, bringing you from the distant north. I will knock the bow from your left hand and the arrows from your right hand, and I will leave you helpless. You and your army and your allies will all die on the mountains. I will feed you to the vultures and wild animals. You will fall in the open fields, for I have spoken, says Yahuwah. And I will rain down fire on Magog and all your allies who live safely on the coast. Then they will know that I am the Lord. In this way, I will make my name holy among my people of Israel. I will not let anyone bring shame on it. And the nations too will know that I am the Lord, the Holy One of Israel. That day of judgment will come, says Yahuwah. Everything will happen just as I have declared it. Then the people in the towns of Israel will go out and pick up your small and large shields, bows and arrows, javelins and spears, and they will use them for fuel. There will be enough to last them 7 years. Imagine that. All the armor and artillery that they bring up to try to take and destroy Israel again, we're going to take it and then in turn use our technology to turn all that into fuel. All of it, all their weapons. And we'll be able to use it for 7 years. How much equipment is that going to be? Listen, we're going to be really efficient, though. Our technology is going to be really efficient. Listen, then the people in the towns of Israel will go out and pick up your small and large shields, bows and arrows, javelins and spears, and they will use them for fuel. There will be enough to last them 7 years. They won't need to cut wood from the fields or forests, for these weapons will give them all the fuel they need. Matter of fact, the land is going to be able to rest for, 7 whole years. Right? 7 whole years. Because we're not going to need to touch it. Because we're going to use the resources that our enemies bring up against us, all right? And we're going to take it and we're going to turn it into something good. They won't need to cut wood from the fields or forests, for these weapons will give them all the fuel they need. They will plunder those who plan to plunder them, and they will rob those who plan to rob them, says Yahuwah. And I will make a vast graveyard for Gog and his hordes in the valley of the travelers east of the Dead Sea. It will block the way of those who travel there, and they will change the name of that place to the valley of Gog's hordes. It will take 7 months. 7 months. It will take 7 months for the people of Israel to bury the bodies and cleanse the land. 7 years. How many dead bodies is that going to be? Right? I wonder if some of these grave liners will be still present. Right? I'm sure it'll be something. I don't know. Maybe they just bury them right in the ground, like mass graves or something. I don't know. But it's going to take 7 years to bury all the dead bodies. It will take 7 months. It will take 7 months for the people of Israel to bury the bodies and cleanse the land. Everyone in Israel will help, for it will be a glorious victory for Israel when I demonstrate my glory on that day, says Yahuwah. After 7 months, teams of men will be appointed to search the land for skeletons to bury, so the land may be made clean again. Whenever bones are found, a marker will be set up so the burial crews will take them to be buried in the valley of Gog's hordes. There will be a town there named Hamona, which means horde, and so the land will finally be cleansed. And now, Son of Man, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Call all the birds and wild animals. Say to them, gather together for my great sacrificial feast. Now listen, when you hear about the wedding supper of the Lamb, people don't really understand that the right way, right? They think it's going to be this beautiful. Granted, we might feast, but here's what Yahuwah said his feast is. We're about to read it right here, right? It's not going to be this, well, it's going to be a beautiful table set out, right? It's going to be a beautiful table set out that we can watch and see. Listen to what Yahuwah says it is and who he's calling to his feast, right? Look, listen. Verse 17. This is Ezekiel chapter 39, verse 17. Listen. If anybody asks you about the wedding feast and what that entails, this is what it entails, right? And now, Son of Man, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Call all the birds and wild animals. Say to them, gather together for my great sacrificial feast. Come from far and near to the mountains of Israel, and there eat flesh and drink blood. Think about this. That Yahuwah is giving them, oh, this is what y'all want to do. Remember how Yahuwah said, listen, I don't require blood, anything, right? I simply desire that you do what's right. But remember, as he was giving it to all the nations, right? He said, you love this, I'm going to give it to you so much till it's coming out of your nose and your ears, right? Look, he said, now y'all like to make sacrificial feasts, slaughtering animals, killing them, drinking the blood, eating the flesh. I got a feast for you. I'm preparing my own sacrificial feast. Gather together for my great sacrificial feast. Come from far and near to the mountains of Israel, and there eat flesh and drink blood. Eat the flesh of mighty men and drink the blood of princes as though they were rams, lambs, goats, and bulls, all fattened animals from Bashan. Gorge yourselves with flesh until you are glutted. Drink blood until you are drunk. This is the sacrificial feast that I have prepared for you. Feast at my banquet table. Feast on horses and charioteers, on mighty men and all kinds of valiant warriors, says the sovereign Lord. In this way, I will demonstrate my glory to the nations. Everyone will see the punishment I have inflicted on them and the power of my fist when I strike. And from that time, the people of Israel will know that I am Yahuwah, their God. The nations will then know why Israel was sent away to exile. It was punishment for sin, for they were unfaithful to their God. Therefore, I turned away from them and let their enemies destroy them. I turned my face away and punished them because of their defilement and their sins. Restoration for Yahuwah's people. Lindsay, Yah, shalom, bruh. So now, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I will end the captivity of my people. I will have mercy on all Israel, for I jealously guard my holy reputation. They will accept responsibility for their past shame and unfaithfulness after they come home to live in peace in their own land with no one to bother them. When I bring them home from the lands of their enemies, I will display my holiness among them for all the nations to see, that my people will know that I am Yahuwah their God, because I sent them away to exile and brought them home again. I will leave none of my people behind, and I will never again turn my face from them, for I will pour out my spirit upon the people of Israel. I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. Yo, whew. Boy, every time I read it, I love Ezekiel, y'all. Y'all sound like I love the book of Ezekiel, right? Okay, y'all. Last chapter for the day. Ezekiel chapter 40. On April 28th, it's the new temple area. On April 28th, during the 25th year of our captivity, 14 years after the fall of Jerusalem, Yahuwah took hold of me. In a vision from Yahuwah, he took me to the land of Israel and set me down on a very high mountain. From there, I could see toward the south what appeared to be a city. As he brought me near, I saw a man whose face shone like bronze, standing beside a gateway entrance. He was holding in his hand a linen measuring cord and a measuring rod. He said to me, "Son of man, watch and listen. Pay close attention to everything I show you. You have been brought here so I can show you many things. Then you will return to the people of Israel and tell them everything you have seen." The east gateway. I could see a wall completely surrounding the temple area. The man took a measuring rod that was 10.5 feet long and measured the wall, and the wall was 10.5 feet thick and 10.5 feet high. Then he went over to the eastern gate. He climbed the steps and measured the threshold of the gateway. It was 10.5 feet front to back. There were guard alcoves on each side built into the gate passage. Each of these alcoves was 10.5 feet square, with a distance between them of 8 3/4 feet along the passage wall. The gateway's inner threshold, which led to the entry room at the inner end of the gateway passage, was 10.5 feet front to back. He also measured the entry room of the gateway. It was 14 feet across with supporting columns 3.5 feet thick. This entry room was at the inner end of the gateway structure facing toward the temple. There were 3 guard alcoves on each side of the gateway passage. Each had the same measurements, and the dividing walls separating them were also identical. The man measured the gateway entrance, which Okay, hold on, y'all. Sorry, I'm definitely gonna have to hurry. There were 3 guard alcoves on each side of the gateway passage. Each had the same measurement, and the dividing walls separating them were also identical. The man measured the gateway entrance, which was 17.5 feet wide at the opening and 22.75 feet wide in the gateway passage. In front of each of the guard alcoves was a 21-inch curve. The alcoves themselves were 10.5 feet on each side. Then he measured the entire width of the gateway, measuring the distance between the back walls of the facing guard alcoves. This distance was 43.75 feet. He measured the dividing walls all along the inside of the gateway up to the entry room of the gateway. This distance was 105 feet. The full length of the gateway passage was 87.5 feet from one end to the other. There were recessed windows that narrowed inward through the walls of the guard alcoves and their dividing walls. There were also windows in the entry room. The surfaces of the dividing walls were decorated with carved palms. The outer courtyard. Then the man brought me through the gateway into the outer courtyard of the temple. A stone pavement ran along the walls of the courtyard, and 30 rooms were built against the walls, opening onto the pavement. This pavement flanked the gates and extended out from the walls into the courtyard, the same distance as the gateway entrance. This was the lower pavement. Then the man measured across the temple's outer courtyard between the outer and inner gateways. The distance was 175 feet. The north gateway. The man measured the gateway on the north, just like the one on the east. Here, too, there were 3 guard alcoves on each side with dividing walls and an entry room. All the measurements matched those of the east gateway. The gateway passage was 87.5 feet long and 43.75 feet wide between the back walls of facing guard alcoves. The windows, the entry room, and the palm tree decorations were identical to those in the east gateway. There were 7 steps leading up to the gateway entrance, and the entry room was at the inner end of the gateway passage. Here on the north side, just as on the east, was another gateway leading to the temple's inner courtyard directly opposed this outer. Here on the north side, just as on the east, there was another gateway leading to the temple's inner courtyard directly opposite this outer gateway. The distance between the two gateways was 175 feet. Stay with me, y'all. Some of y'all may not be able to picture this, but he's describing the layout of the temple. The south gateway. Then the man took me around to the south gateway and measured its various parts, and they were exactly the same as in the others. It had windows along the walls as the others did, and there was an entry room where the gateway passage opened into the outer courtyard. And like the others, the gateway passage was 87.5 feet long and 43.75 feet wide between the back walls of the facing guard alcoves. This gateway also had a stairway of 7 steps leading up to it and an entry room at the inner end and palm tree decorations along the dividing walls. And here again, directly opposite the outer gateway, was another gateway that led into the inner courtroom. The distance between the two gateways was 175 feet. Gateways to the outer courtyard. Then the man took me to the south gateway leading into the inner courtyard. He measured it and it had the same measurements as the other gateways. Its guard alcoves, dividing walls, and entry room were the same size as those in the others. It also had windows along its walls, and it also had windows along its walls and in the entry room. And like the others, the gateway passage was 87.5 feet long and 43.75 feet wide. The entry rooms of the gateways leading into the inner courtyard were 14 feet across and 43.75 feet wide. Let's see right here. The entry room to the south gateway faced into the outer courtyard. It had palm tree decorations on its columns, and there were 8 steps leading to its entrance. Then he took me to the east gateway leading to the inner courtyard. He measured it and it had the same measurements as the other gateways. Its guard alcoves, dividing walls, and entry rooms were the same size as those of the others, and there were windows along the walls and in the entry room. The gateway passage measured 87.5 feet long and 43.75 feet wide. Its entry room faced into the outer courtyard. It had palm tree decorations on its columns, and there were 8 steps leading to its entrance. Then he took me around to the north gateway leading to the inner courtyard. He measured it, and it had the same measurements as the other gateways. The guard alcoves, dividing walls, and entry room of this gateway had the same measurements as in the others and the same window arrangements. The gateway passage measured 87.5 feet long and 43.75 feet wide. Its entry room faced into the outer courtyard, and it had palm tree decorations on the columns. There were 8 steps leading to its entrance. Rooms for preparing sacrifices. A door led from the entry room of one of the inner gateways into a side room where the meat for sacrifices was washed. On each side of this entry room were 2 tables where the sacrificial animals were slaughtered for the burnt offerings, sin offerings, and guilt offerings. Outside the entry room, on each side of the stairs going up to the north entrance, were 2 more tables. So there were 8 tables in all, 4 inside and 4 outside, and there was sacrifice and where sacrifices were cut up and prepared. There were also 4 tables of finished stone for preparation of the burnt offerings, each 31 and 1/2 inches square and 21 inches high. On these tables were placed the butchering knives and other implements for slaughtering the sacrificial animals. There were hooks, each 3 inches long, fastened all around the foyer walls. The sacrificial meat was laid on the tables. Now, this right here, I'm not sure about this, y'all. I know it says this. I'm not sure if this is an analogy for something, but having a temple for sacrifices, having rooms for preparing sacrifices goes against what Yahuwah says when he said there would be no one that hurts or kills on all his holy mountain, right? When we return, he said ain't gonna be none of this. So that's why I'm like, this little portion right here is kind of suspect to me, right? So I'm just like, I'm still reading it, Dinah Shalom. I still leave it there, because while I'm still looking through this, I'm still going through all the sacrifices and everything. It's like that conflicts with what Yahuwah says, right? So I just want to say that. Okay. I'm still looking into it, but I'm like, okay, if this is gonna be what's there after we've all returned and we won't be doing any kind of blood sacrifices and all this stuff, then why is this here? Unless this is a representation of something else that Yahuwah is explaining, right? I'm not quite sure on that, so I just wanted to say that. Rooms for priests. Inside the inner courtyard were 2 rooms, one beside the north gateway facing south, and the other beside the south gateway facing north. And the man said to me, the room beside the north inner gate is for the priests who supervise the temple maintenance. The room beside the south inner gate is for the priests in charge of the altar, the descendants of Zadok, for they alone of all the Levites may approach Yahuwah to minister to him. The inner courtyard and temple. Then the man measured the inner courtyard, and it was a square, 175 feet wide and 175 feet across. The altar stood in the courtyard in the front of the temple. Then he brought me to the entry room of the temple. He measured the walls on either side of the opening of the room, and they were 8 3/4 feet thick. The entrance itself was 24.5 feet wide, and the walls on each side of the entrance were an additional 5 1/4 feet long. The entry room was 35 feet wide and 21 feet deep. There were 10 steps leading up to it with a column on each side. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. Let me see where we at. Let me close this a little bit. We have 42 minutes. Okay, we'll take a few minutes and go through this. All right, page 339, Fossilized Customs. Dream Sky Lover, shalom, sis. Good morning. Okay, so we stopped. Yes, baby.
I need to sit.
Okay, you can do this. Hold on, I just had to find my page. Okay, so it was going. Hold on, I need this handful. It's a quick second, Pooh. Yesterday we were going through definitions, and it's still going through definitions, and it picks up with the cross. Okay, let me show you. So it has a couple pictures of the different crosses that they had, of which we still see alive and active today, right? Okay. Cross. The word cross is derived from the Latin word crux. I don't know that says crux. It probably still says cross, but it's spelled like crux. C-R-U-X. Stem or crux. C-R-U-C. The word cross came into the Latin translation when Jerome Eusebius Hieronymus Sophronius. I screwed that up. I know I did. That was his name, his real name. That was Jerome's real name. The name I just screwed up. Anyway, the word cross came into the Latin translation when Jerome translated the Greek word stauros, S-T-A-U-R-O-S. He did this during the years CE 391 through 403, calling his translation the Latin Vulgate. Catholicism considers this to be inspired. The Greek word stauros means staff, stake, pole, or beam, corresponding to the Hebrew word nas, N-A-S, which the serpent Nehushtan was lifted up with in the desert. John chapter 3, Numbers chapter 21, verse 9, 2 Kings chapter 18 and 4. Yeah, I know, right? Dana, the Roman Rome can't be trusted. Many scholars strongly suspect this term and symbol were introduced from paganism because the use of the cross is so commonly found in primitive pagan religions worldwide. It usually symbolized the sun or an eagle, which Constantine seemed to identify with Apollo, confusing his deity of the sun with Christ. In the 1934 Encyclopedia Britannica states this. Go get some Vaseline in the comments for you this. The 1934 Encyclopedia Britannica states, in every part of the world, crosses were used both as religious symbols or as ornaments long before the Christian era. It did not become the symbol of Christianity until 400 years later during the time of Constantine. And I'm going to show you this picture, and it shows you them worshiping the cross and putting the crosses on the foreheads with the ashes, which is Lent, you know. Hold on, please. It said, how did we get so far off the path, right? Okay, the image of the beast. If you think about it, what possible meaning could the words "take up your cross and follow me" have meant to a listener of Yahusha before his execution? All he was saying was, "Take up your staff, a walking stick, and follow me." These words meant to walk. Hebrew halak halakah. Hebrew halak, which is H-A-L-A-K, or halakah, H-A-L-A-C-A-H. In his example, since he is he says, since he is the living model of Torah, linking a staff with a mask. I can see his reasoning in this, right? But some of the things he said was suspect and go directly against what Yahuwah says. I'm just saying, we ain't gonna get into it, but I'm just put that out there. If y'all be paying attention, we need to question some things he said. Speaking to fishermen, the word for take up, arrow, A-I-R-O, meant to raise the mast of a boat or cast off. Images that we are programmed to embrace as holy need to be thoroughly researched to see if they originated from paganism or not.
This way.
Yeah, I know. Okay, well, I did it that way. Images that we are programmed to embrace as holy need to be thoroughly researched to see if they originated from paganism or not. Catholics genuflect. I think that's how you pronounce that. Genuflect. Genuflect. Okay. Catholics genuflect before a box with bread inside, before a cross with a statue figure of a dying person supposed to represent Yahusha. In the past, Yahuwah overlooked such ignorance, but now he commands all people everywhere to repent, for he has set a day when he will judge the world with justice. He has given proof of this. Yeah, see, this is not proof of this. He has given proof of this to all men by raising him from the dead. That's not proof that Yahuwah is going to bring judgment. That's absolutely not. That's unfounded. Yes, baby. Okay, you can't do that. I need both my hands while I'm reading for. Hold on. This. All right. If you place no image before your eyes, you will not be found guilty of any wrongdoing. But scripture says few are going to make it. See Luke chapter 13:24. Why do you also transgress the command of Yahuwah because of your tradition? Matthew chapter 15 and 3. But in vain do they worship me, teaching as teachings the commands of men. In verse 9. The cross is really a solar eagle symbol. The next word, Elohim. Hebrew, enlarged from all, or al, meaning mighty one. Elohim, being plural, can also refer to immensity rather than the quantifying aspect. Yahuwah is not a committee. He's one being. In different roles, he may be our healer, our banner, our deliverer, and so on. The ending of many Hebrew names use the short form as in Michael or Mikal, Mikal, which means who is like all, Al. Raphael, healing, all. Okay, so here's what he's doing, because if you don't have the book, he's putting a name and in parentheses, he's putting what that name means, and he's making the first part of the word not bolded, but al, the ending part of the name, he's making it bold so you can see the differentiation. I think I said that right. But these are names, not names of Yah, but names people have taken that have the God aspect in their name, right? Like Michael or Jeremiah, like that, right? Okay. So Michael, Mikal, means who is like all, Al. Raphael, which means healing all. Yisharal, prince of all. Yisharal is another name for Israel, but using the Y. Gabriel, warrior of all.
Mom.
Yishmael, which means all hears. Mom. Yes, baby.
This is for you, and I need my credit card.
Oh, well, don't you take your credit card out my purse, sis.
I want to see.
Yeah, no, you don't need to see. Use this one. This one is real. I can't let y'all carry those around. I'm going to carry those too. You need to use it. Gabriel is the warrior of all.
I want to get them in here for
No, Bella. Yishmael. You want to go upstairs?
I want to.
I know you want to, but you're not going to. Yishmael, all hears. Shemuel, name of all. Emmanuel, or people know it, Emmanuel, all with us, or they say God with us, right? You all, or which is Joel, Yah is all. Yahusha referred to Psalm 22 as he continued to teach, as he was dying on the stake, saying, Ali, lama sabachthani. Ali means my mighty one or upward one. All, al, is a pronoun, not a name. In translating this pronoun into various vernacular terms in Gentile languages, commonly they substitute the pagan's principal deity's name, as was done in the English word God, which is actually Got, G-O-T-T, the sun, right? When you hear them, a lot of people, some people ignorantly say God, not knowing that God, although it's a general term, it is also identifier of another pagan deity, of a God whom they worship when they worship the sun, right? Whose name was Got, which is spelled G-O-T-T.
I'm not a baby.
I know you're not a baby, sis. Okay.
I'm just little.
You're just little. Okay. The Hebrew pronoun Allah, A-L-A-H, became preserved in Arabic as Allah, A-L-L-A-H, but it is not a name. The reason the Arabic is more accurate is the Arabs weren't dispersed into the nations, and they didn't have a sect or Masoretes mutilating their language for 500 years. And that clearly, that's still true today. Even if you hear some of them talk, they'll refer to Israel by her proper name. Let's see.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna put my credit card in here. Another day.
We'll talk about that. Okay.
Mom.
Next word.
Another day. I pull my credit card out.
Okay. We'll talk about this in a second. Since I got about 7 minutes, let me get in what I can get in 7 minutes. Amuna, Hebrew for fidelity, faithfulness, steadfastness. It is usually transworded to our word faith. This is a rabbi's foremost concern, that his pupils will remain steady and unswerving to their teachings of Torah. If you are unswerving in the small things, you will be unswerving in the greater things also. The meaning points to obedience. The flesh must be disciplined and trained in the light. And don't we know that to be the truth, right? This flesh want to do any and everything it want to do. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a lamp. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light for my path. Psalm 119, 105. The righteous, or Zedek, Tzedek, will live by his Amunah. Habakkuk chapter 2, or Habakkuk, Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 4. Arets, Arets, is Hebrew for earth, soil, land. Arets Yisrael means land of Israel. Eunuch, Greek for a castrated man. Clearly, we all know this by now, right? From some of the shenanigans over the last couple of weeks. Eunuch is Greek for a castrated man, meaning bed watcher. Woman means wombed man. Europa, 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 the Greek deity in mythology who was abducted by Zeus, disguised as a white bull, and taken to Crete. The continent of Europe is named for her. Oh, I didn't know that. Europa. Oh, okay. Oh, Europe is named by this Greek deity, Europa? I mean, yeah, Europe is named after the Greek deity, Europa. Okay. Gematria. This is the use of letters as numbers. This is the use of letters as numbers. Hebrew letters carry numerical values, just as Latin used letters to represent numbers. People add up the value of letters so a word or name can be expressed. People add up the value of letters so a word or name can be expressing a number. John added up the Roman numerals of the fourth beast, Rome, which are in Roman numerals VCLXVI, and that's 666. He identified the beast as Rome. In the 2nd century, the letter M stood for 1,000, a millennium. The name of Yahuwah has a value of 26. It must never be used as a means to glean secret codes, since this would be the pursuit of Kabbalah based on the Zohar, which is mysticism. Relating Hebrew words because their numerical sum is the same. Relating Hebrew words because their numerical sum is the same is numerology, a kind of false knowledge verging on divination. Gethsemane. 2 words in Hebrew, gath and semene, meaning oil press. Golgotha, the Hebrew place for the skull. The Latin word Calvary means cranium, skull, or bonehead. Let's leave it the name Golgotha. Japan means rising sun, but we call it Japan. Oh, I get it, right? He said you calling things by their definition, like us. Our names mean something, but instead of saying, hey, girl, or saying, hey, sweetest honey, you just say Pamela, right? You just give the definition. You give the word for the definition instead of saying, yeah, that's sweetest honey over there. Instead of saying, oh, that's Pamela over there, right? That's what it's saying. That's what he's saying. Japan means rising sun, but we call it Japan. Okay. Grace. Based on the Latin word gratia, I may have pronounced that wrong. It could be gratia, gratia, Gratia. This word comes from the Hebrew word kasid, Kasid, which means unmerited loving kindness or simply kindness. The name John means Yah is kind. Preachers often give people false security by claiming we live in the age of grace. But thank you. But this is not supported by any scriptural verse. Yahuwah has always been praised as the Elohim of forgiveness and showed his kindness for repentance. We are under Yahuwah's We are under Yahuwah's Kassid. Catholicism set up a dispensational method of dispensing grace through the 7 sacraments. This gave the clergy complete control over the laity. The sacraments are bogus, a trick to mislead people. We are all priests, and there is not a division in scripture called clergy or laity. Yahuwah is our head, and we are his body. Where we at? We at an hour. We're going to pause right here with Hanukkah, right? All right, y'all. We're going to pause right here. Got to keep it in the proper time of day. I really do. Let's see. Let me write my page. Listen. All right, y'all. Today we read Ezekiel chapter 38, 39, and 40. And we read in Fossilized Customs, page 339 to page 341. Y'all, it is Thursday, August the 19th, 2021, day 237 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. And of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 906. I see it, Pooh. All right, y'all. Don't draw on that. I hope y'all enjoyed the reading for today. Let's go ahead and do the blessing and get about our way.
I'm still here.
Uncle JB. Hey.
Will you miss JP?
Hold on.
You missed that? Ear? Him.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Brown.
Where's Nani?
Nani is right there.
Oh. Her gave you a kiss?
No, she didn't blow me a kiss today. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his son, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, Yahuwah will kneel before us, presenting gifts, and will guard us with a hedge of protection. Yahuwah will illuminate the wholeness of his being toward us, bringing order, and he will provide us with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahuwah will lift up his wholeness of being and look upon us, and he will set in place all we need to be whole and complete. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. And remember, this blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazarite vow. And anybody can take it, man or woman. Girl, hold on. Let me say bye. Shoot. Okay, y'all. Now, how about you just reach your hand over today because you ain't put no lip gloss on your lips yet. All right, y'all. I love y'all. Thanks for hanging out today. I will see y'all in the morning bright and early, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bruce, so you just want to cover your mouth and get in the camera. You crest, you need Carmex. There's some Vaseline or something. You want to look? I can't let you get you won't. Okay, well, cover your mouth right here. Hold on. And I'm like, oh, Mom. Okay, now you want to get a camera. Sis, that's a little bit better. All right, come on. All right, y'all. Bye, y'all. She's already cut Facebook off. Okay, hit end stream. Okay, no, she want to do the whole post. And see, now you trying to look at stuff. Girl, in this YouTube video. All right, y'all. Hit the end stream. Oh, Nani said, hey, Bella. See, she blew you a kiss. There you go.
Hi, Nani.
Okay. All right. End stream. Yeah, use that. Go ahead. There you go. Bye, y'all. They can see you 2 fingers. Peace. Okay, hit it. One more time. Hit that one. Good job.